And, you know, he called my name one more time, and, you know, the way he said it just stopped me, in a sense. I was still running, but the way he said it stopped me, and he just fell.
No, Steve-man! Come on, I beg you, come! Come on, sit down, fella, come on, man!
The 2 wounds that Stephen received are unusual. They damaged blood vessels that are normally quite well protected and very seldom damaged by stabbing injuries. And then the 200 yards, as he ran, he would be bleeding more and more, internally and externally. Eventually, he would collapse through shock, and that would be the beginning of the end.
The next thing for me was to get help. I knew there was a phone box across the road because we travelled that way a number of occasions. So I just dialed 999.
Ambulance, please, man!
At the same time, a passing couple stopped to comfort Stephen.
Dwayne is very concerned about getting him to hospital. And he's looking down the road and up the road for an ambulance. He wants to see that blue light.
But it wasn't an ambulance that was first on the scene. It was the police. Having made assumptions about Dwayne based on the colour of his skin, they failed to respond to the information about the attackers he was desperately trying to give them.
Every time a new officer spoke to me, they would ask me the same question as before. And naturally, I'd be frustrated. Why do you keep asking me the same questions? You know, my friend's dying. I told them where the gang went, where they ran, how many people they were. I did the best that I could.
Precious time was being wasted. While the police questioned Dwayne, his attackers were disappearing into the night, and Stephen's life was draining away by the side of the road.
There wasn't any first aid given. There wasn't any attempt to stem the flow of blood. It was just a massive sense of helplessness. For me, not being able to help my friend, who I knew was dying.
He had beside him this couple. She was kneeling and praying and saying, "Stephen, you are loved. You are loved." And he was breathing. His breathing became more and more shallow.
At 10:54 p.m., 9 minutes after Dwayne's initial 999 call, the ambulance arrived.
The crew comes out, turns him over, puts him on a trolley, and you could clearly see that he was drenched in his own blood.
The paramedics found no vital signs, no breathing, no heartbeat. Stephen Lawrence was dead.
He certainly died by the side of the road, within feet of the passing cars.
So the police officers who were on the spot know, I think they should have done the first aid, but actually I know now, that having seen the autopsy, obviously, we now know that nothing would have saved Stephen Lawrence. He had such deep stab wounds, and the internal bleeding was so appalling he was going to die anyway. But they didn't know that.
It was now a murder investigation. The police had already made many critical mistakes, and many more were to come, in a case that was to have a profound impact on the law, the Met, and British society. At 11:03 p.m. on the 22nd of April 1993, Stephen Lawrence was in an ambulance after being stabbed by racist youths. Resuscitation was being attempted, but the truth was that Stephen was already dead.
One of the people at the bus stop who boarded the bus saw Stephen lying by the side of the road, and he was a near neighbour. And when he got home, he told his father that he'd seen this, and the father brought him straight round to the Lawrences. The Lawrences immediately got in their car and went to the scene. Didn't see anything, they thought they'd go straight to the hospital.
I've got another one on this side.
OK, no pulse. Let's start chest compressions. What you got there?
I've got another one which is an L-shaped wound on that side, which is also sucking.
Okay.
Very soon after their arrival at the hospital, Neville and Doreen were told that their son had died.
Oh, no!
Meanwhile, the police presence at the murder scene was growing. But a failure by those officers to work in a coordinated manner meant that as the seconds passed, the case was already beginning to slip away from them.
One always talks in terms of crimes of murder of the golden period. That's the period immediately after the crime has been committed, when the police are supposed to secure the scene and search for evidence.
The police still believed they were responding to a fight, and as a result, they failed to establish the true sequence of events, still regarding Dwayne as a perpetrator rather than a victim.
Dwayne was still at the scene. He was clearly very traumatised. He represented a very challenging witness to get the story as to what had happened. However, you know, that challenge has to be met.
The way I was treated at the scene is not how a victim of crime should be treated. There was that feeling that I was treated as a suspect.
Having failed to establish what exactly had happened, the police went off in the wrong direction to a local pub along Wellhall Road.
Police officers all going off in the wrong direction, looking for the wrong evidence, at the crucial time just the night of the murder. Dwayne was absolutely right. They should have gone up Dixon Road, and they didn't.
I was asked, if I had any weapons on me, or did we carry any weapons, and I was asked if Stephen carried any weapons, and
Critically, as more officers arrived, it seemed that there was a lack of control and vision.
And there was a telling remark by one of the police constables about seeing a lot of senior officers standing around with their hands on their hips, as if they were just there rather than doing anything useful.
Later that night, the police questioned Dwayne at Plumstead Police Station.
Dwayne was absolutely key to understanding what had happened to Stephen. He was also a victim because he was a surviving victim of a racist attack.
We hadn't done anything except tried to get home. We're attacked. Steve dies. It was just because we were black. And